When I started reporting on the movement that would become known as Occupy Wall Street, I didn't expect that it would change how I would read the Bible. It was generally a secular phenomenon. That's how most participants understood themselves. But it wasn't long before this struggle for a more equal, more participatory economy started calling me to enter more strenuously into my faith. The initial occupation at New York's Zuccotti Park in the fall of 2011 turned that rectangular block of granite into sacred space. The occupiers renamed it Liberty Square. Within days, there was a kitchen serving food to anyone who wanted some, and a library, and a media center, and meditation circles. It felt like a miracle that the occupation hadn't been removed by the police yet, and as the police perpetually looked on, people started behaving more generously, openly, and kindly than strangers normally treat each other. As the Book of Acts put it, they held everything in common. Later, I noticed that in both chapters 2 and 4 of Acts, just before this apostolic communism is mentioned, there is an experience of signs and wonders. For better or worse, even the apostles needed to be shocked out of their normal ways of doing things, into something more like the society of God. For the occupiers, the signs and wonders were having carved out a space apart from an unjust world, having found one another, and seeing their collective creativity at work. Quite a bit later on, after the occupation suffered a violent eviction, I became part of a group called Occupy Catholics. Around Holy Week, we decided to wash the feet of people who had been sleeping on Wall Street in protest. The experience was overpowering. I realized when the stench of those feet stuck on my hands for hours after, what it must have meant when Jesus washed his disciples' feet in dusty first-century Palestine. When feet are washed in our churches on Holy Thursday, it's a meaningful but often domesticated ritual. We don't experience the filth that is surely part of the biblical story's subtext. When we do, when I did, God's love for us in our dirtiness comes through so much more clearly. One last exegesis. In 2012, a group of occupiers started a campaign called the Rolling Jubilee. It was ingenious. They'd raise money to buy defaulted medical debt and then forgive it. They found a way to access the heavily discounted rates that collection agencies pay, but which are out of reach for the debtors themselves, people who often went into debt simply in order to survive. The campaign was a great success, raising more money than anyone expected. That word Jubilee, of course, is a word from the Bible, the ancient practice of debt forgiveness that was part of Jewish law, and that Jesus called to mind when he recited Isaiah in the synagogue. Jubilee is now a word we use mostly for anniversary parties, which is fine, but an important part of the meaning can be forgotten, the part about forgiveness, the part that challenges those who claim to hold power over others in society. Why is it that it took Occupy Wall Street, a supposedly secular movement, to remind me what the Bible is really talking about?